Hello and welcome to I Talk to Ghosts, the podcast that is content to be strange and unusual. I'm your haunted host, Jennifer, a spirit medium and a teller of ghost stories. And tonight's stories are strange and unusual too. I have collected a series of stories of haunted clothing. That's right, haunted pantaloons. And later on, I have a new in-studio spirit reading for my latest podcast guest. And then you and I, dear listener, will gather around the seance table to see if a spirit would like to come close. Do they have a message to share? If they do, it could be for you. And you'll know it. I'm often asked if multiple people reach out to claim the spirit message of the week. And you know what? Honestly, no. More often than not, one person will contact me, and I absolutely love that. That's later on in the podcast. But first, the spooky, the ghostly garments are here for you right now. At the time this event happened, my sister and I must have been between the ages of 5 and 7. We shared a room located at the end of a small hallway across from our parents' room. On the left, and directly at the end of the hall, was a large bookcase. One night, we were already tucked into our beds. We were supposed to be sleeping, of course, but we were lying awake and talking like siblings do. All of a sudden, we both looked at the door because something had caught our attention. I saw my mom's black leggings, the ones that she wore nearly every day, disembodied, running past the doorway and disappearing into the bookcase. They had looked as if someone was wearing them. They were filled out, but you couldn't see any other part of the body. While they were running, they were kind of suspended, as if feet should have been there. You could even hear the sound of the fabric. Now, there was no place for the pants to go because the end of the hall was right there. So my sister and I looked at each other, and I asked her, "What did you just see?" She described the exact same thing I had seen. It was very bizarre. I mustered up the courage and went downstairs to see if either of my parents had been upstairs recently. They both said no. In fact, my mom wasn't even wearing those leggings. To this day, that's been our little fun, little sisterly paranormal experience we had together. Regardless, my mom couldn't believe our experience either. She thought it was incredible, her pants just walking across the floor by themselves. I'm a skeptic, but this happened to me. I don't understand it, and I won't attempt to explain it. My wife and I moved into my grandparents' house when they had moved into a nursing home. Grandmother passed away, but grandfather stayed alert and active for years. So much so that my mother and I, when we moved all of my grandfather's things, we made sure to label all the boxes so we could immediately get to anything he wanted. But eventually, well past the age of 90, grandfather passed away. His funeral was planned, and Mom retrieved a suit in which to bury him in. But it was the day before he was to be buried, in the late afternoon while my wife was at work. I taught at a community college then and had just gotten home. I went upstairs to go to the bathroom. As I got to the head of the stairs and looked into the bathroom, I saw the mirrored door of the medicine cabinet slowly, oh so very slowly, swing open. My hair rose. This door had a latch. Then I heard a creak and looked to the left, and the door of the closet where I kept my clothes, the same closet where my grandfather kept his clothes, just as deliberately swung open. I admit this door had an old-fashioned latch and didn't close at all that well, but still, this had never happened before. I gritted my teeth and walked forward and first shut the closet door, then the medicine cabinet door. No cold chills, no spooky lights or noises, nothing. However, a few days later, my wife asked where one of my gray pairs of pants had gone. I still don't know. I never saw them again. I bought another pair to match my suit coat. Was grandfather wearing them? I don't know. It was a closed casket service, and I didn't ask to see. I guess I didn't want to know. But my mother thinks, and I tend to agree, that Grandpa, who was always a snappy dresser, didn't care for her choice of suit pants. The day I had my weird experience was the day he was prepared for his burial. Coincidence? Well, nothing else like that ever happened again while we lived in the house for another 5 years. I've never seen those pants again. Who knows? But ever since then, I've had a lot more tolerance towards the paranormal, and will be, until someone can find that pair of pants. I was about 11 when I experienced something extremely unnatural. It was about 9 p.m. on the weekly night where my mom did the family's laundry, and she was already working her way through this chore. There was about 6 different sorted loads, lights, darks, delicates. I was in the living room with my mother and my little brother. Nothing seemed out of place. The phone rang and startled me because I was sort of dozing off. The call was my younger sister, in need of a ride, so my mother left with my brother to go pick her up. It wasn't until 20 minutes later that my older sister came out of her room and went into the kitchen for a glass of water. She came into the living room where I was lying on the couch and sat next to me. She then asked where everyone was and added that she had seen someone walking down the hallway and was not sure who in the family she had seen. She then asked if anyone was wearing a gray shirt that day. I told her no, and that nobody but her and I were in the house. When she heard this, her face grew ghastly pale. I've never seen her in such a state. Needless to say, I hurriedly picked up the phone and called my mom on her cell to see when she was coming home. She was stuck in traffic. In somewhat of a panic, I dialed up my grandmother's number and told her what my sister saw. She told me to have my sister check in all the back rooms. My brave-hearted sister did so and found no one. Before we knew it, my mom returned and came in with my younger sister and brother. I told them what had happened, and my mother assured me that if my sister hadn't found anything, then there was nothing there. That night, in my top bunk bed, while drifting off to sleep, I heard a faint knocking on the wood under my bunk. ignored the faint noise, just thinking that it was nothing as I drifted off to sleep, only to be awoken again by an even louder knock. My bedroom door was shut, so I figured someone was just knocking to come in. I answered with a tired, "Come in," and the doorknob turned and the door creaked open. I waited and waited and then opened my eyes. When I saw that nobody was there, my heart just about stopped beating. I quickly climbed down from my bunk with my pillow and my blanket, ran out of the room and down the hallway to the living room, and fell asleep. Some days had passed, and it was the night my mom did the weekly laundry again. My sister again saw something walking down the hallway, but this time in a dark red shirt. It was 9:30 p.m., around the same time as the last incident. This time, I ran to where the load of dark clothing was, only to find that my dark red shirt was missing. I'm guessing the gray shirt that my sister saw the last time was missing too. The next morning, when I woke up, I found my red t-shirt bunched up alongside me in my bed. This ghostly situation carried on for the next couple of weeks. Shirts disappeared and then reappeared. We started calling it the shirt-snatching spirit. After a few months or so, the activity tapered off and hasn't happened again. Hello, my dear spooky friend. Do you have a paranormal experience you would like to share? Submit your ghost stories to be read on this podcast. I love sharing true ghost stories, and yours could be among them. Email me your story at speaknow@italktoghosts.com. Let's be spooky together. Hello and welcome back to I Talk to Ghosts. My guest this evening is Becky. Becky, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing tonight?
I'm awesome. So excited to be here.
I'm excited for you to be here too. I mentioned as we were getting together that there were a couple people who were coming through for you. Motherly, nurturing type, very bright energy. She was coming in first. She wanted to say she was proud of you. And she wanted to express her love and support because she was also feeling that maybe at this time in your life you kind of needed a little bit. Does that make sense?
Sure. I always need encouragement and support, right? Who doesn't?
Yeah. But did your mom pass?
Yes.
Okay. I am just describing her as this bright light. She just comes in very glowing and very warm and really wants to give you that sense of support. The first thing she said was that she was proud of you.
It makes me wonder, is it my mom or my mother-in-law?
Was your mother-in-law more of the, like, okay, this person, they're like a star. They're kind of very glowy and shiny, draw people to them.
My mother-in-law was she was like the grandmother everyone wished they had.
Oh, very sweet. Okay, that makes sense. Also a sense of friendship there. Do you feel like she was a good friend of yours?
We were tight.
Yeah, definitely has that mother nurture energy though, too. So I think she really did identify as your mom. And I think your mom is like, hey, I'm in here too. I'm getting the sense of learning around you.
I'm an assistant principal. I used to be a science teacher.
Okay. Was your mom in a similar position?
My mother-in-law was a substitute teacher for a very long time.
Okay.
They're, just the sense of figuring out who is kind of like how I mentioned before. I do want to bring your mom in a little bit for you because I feel like she has something. I'm seeing her in an emotional role, but I also see her as the type of person like, oh, don't worry about me. I'm good. I'm content. Don't put your energy somewhere else is what she's saying.
I can see that. She was very self-sufficient.
Okay. But still, do you have siblings?
I have a sister.
Did she need her attention more than you?
I would argue that she did. Maybe my sister would say no, but they talked more than we did. Like they talked every day on the phone, and I might have talked to her like once a month or so.
Yeah, I think she's bringing up that dynamic is what's going on. And I love those details because, it is showing that she's here. I also want to pull in a gentleman who is coming in. He seems reassuring. I see him putting his hand on your shoulder. Can you identify who this is?
Not from that.
He just seems just someone who lived in their head a little bit more than an action doer type of person.
I don't know.
No? No one like that, huh?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Maybe we'll put that aside for now and see if that comes around later. Was your dad good at fixing things?
Yeah.
I see him physically getting in there and fixing things. What did he do for a living?
He worked on telephones. So he did that and then like IT stuff later on.
He wants to apologize a little bit.
I wish he'd apologize a lot.
He's extending that olive branch is what's going on. He's acknowledging he didn't always react the best way. And that's damaging.
We had a very tumultuous relationship and then eventually estranged.
How does he want to put this? He doesn't want to make excuses about it. Did he remarry?
Many times.
Okay, because he's bringing that up. He's saying he wasn't good with women.
At all.
And he just had these hot buttons and didn't get it. And he wouldn't say it at the time, but he was very defensive. And it came out really wrong because there was a vulnerability there that he just did not know how to unpack. And it came out as lashing out and puff up, get big, be distracting. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
When we pass on, I think we gain a lot of insight and we a lot of things kind of fall away that were, and yeah, we just can take that step back and see the whole of it. And he really wants to kind of acknowledge, he's like, you don't have to forgive me, but if he thinks it would help you to understand his vulnerabilities, and he's acknowledging that all of it was a mess. I can imagine you talking to him and then all of a sudden you're like, where are we? How did we get here?
Yeah.
And he was so spun around himself. Once his heart rate got up a little bit, words were coming out of his mouth. His brain wasn't checking first. You know what I mean? He had a lot of triggers. And it had nothing to do with you. The triggers formed before you, So I hope that there's some understanding for you there. If this is giving you vulnerabilities to this day, he's really sorry about that. And if you could have the insight that he didn't have, when you feel that this is familiar, I know what's happening here, take a step back from it and kind of observe it a little bit and be like, okay, I got to support myself in this moment and come back to what's going on right now later and kind of just heal myself a little bit.
Right. Trying to break that childhood trauma, the generational trauma. Yeah.
Exactly. Because we're kind of left with holding the bag, and that can be really hard. So maybe that was the reassurance that was coming in that I was sensing originally. Like he's coming in with that. but like, you're not going to recognize that, right? No. So yeah, it's like, okay, well, show me something she will recognize,
Right.
so that we know what's going on here. Okay, this might seem like a strange question. Do you have someone's nameplate
I have a name tag.
from someone like who has passed? Okay,
Yeah.
they were showing me that. Whose is that, and what is it? I would love to know.
Well, it's my mom's. It says her name, and it's like from the Elks Lodge. It was like women something. I don't know.
Okay, yeah, that was brought up. Let me see. Puzzle games. Did anyone like to do crosswords or Sudoku, something like that?
I think my mother-in-law did crosswords,
Yeah.
and her mother did Sudoku.
Okay. Let me ask you if there was anyone else that you were really hoping would come through today for you, and I can see if they're available.
I guess I would like to talk to my mother-in-law.
Yeah, she was the bright light, right?
Mm-hmm.
Her personality to me is a bit of looking out into the world and really wishing she could have seen more of it.
She wasn't ready to go.
Yeah, there was this sense of, gosh, I wish I could have done this. She saw the world as one big horizon and would love to have just seen everything, done everything. And I think she wants to just encourage you to experience as much as you can going forward. Were there some family issues on her side of things?
Yeah, she struggled with the relationship with her mother. She found out she had a brother that she didn't know about. For 70 years, she didn't know she had a brother, and Ancestry.com found that brother.
Oh my gosh.
And she got to meet him and stuff before she died, which was great. But she only got to know him for about a year before she died.
Mm-hmm. She strikes me as a very clever person. She had a wonderful brain.
Sure.
I wouldn't be surprised if you two had conversations that were outside the norm of what normal relationship expectation type of, you know, how people are like, oh, let's just talk about the movie we just watched. Like, you guys had deeper and clever. She was just clever. Every interaction was a joy.
I miss her.
Was she one to just kind of be a harbor for you and give you advice when necessary when it came to dealing with other difficult people?
She was.
Yeah. She's bringing that up, and she's just like, hold strong with any of that, and that you have it in you. She's saying to talk to her, you know, and she'll be there. It's not your imagination. She'll be there for you. You know, I mentioned her brightness before. Did she have a sunny spot in her house or like outside, like the patio or something, where it's like, let's go out there, and it's like, I need my sunglasses to be out here type of thing?
She had a porch.
And was always out there on the porch to get that sunlight, to get that vitamin D. Yeah, that's what she's showing me. Did you guys have a lot of conversations out there?
Mm-hmm.
Did she have a wind chime at all, or something that would kind of make noise out there a little bit? Nothing too obnoxious.
She did have a wind chime with a hummingbird on it.
I think this was a really special place for her. If you would like to, you ever have conversations with her, be on that porch with her. Meet her there spiritually, and just feel her close. Don't doubt it. She's there. She's absolutely there for you. I do have a couple messages for you. There was a sense of communicating that it's okay to pause and slow down for a little bit, like take a break if you need to, sort of to celebrate where you're at, acknowledge where you're at, and also always to cultivate gratitude is just a great practice because it makes us feel really good for what we have instead of focusing on what's wrong or what we're lacking. So there was that sense of encouragement for that. And support yourself through change. Do you have some change going on right now, or a need for change?
I've had some change.
Okay. Just support yourself through that, and don't push any emotion away. I think we have a tendency, it's natural for humans that if we're feeling anything that we deem negative, we try to deny it and push it away because we just either don't want to deal with it or don't know how to deal with it. When in truth, if we pull it close and say, okay, why am I feeling this? How can I support myself? I'm going to be here for myself and I'm going to acknowledge it. It's like we pull it into the light and give it the attention it deserves. Because if we don't, we're kind of pushing ourselves away and subconsciously telling ourselves that we're not worth the time and attention and energy and love. And you are, and you absolutely deserve it. Okay. So just that kind of work and just love and support. Do everything with love and support for yourself and the ones around you. And if there's ever a difficult situation that brings up maybe something, that a trigger from the past, just like, all right, let me pause and pour some love into this. How can I love this? Because it's showing you something that needs a little healing, and just to be there for yourself.
That's lovely.
I'm glad that connects for you. Thank you so much for meeting with me today. This has been really lovely, and there's some really strong messages that I'm just really honored to be able to pass those along to you.
Thank you.
Would you like a free spirit reading with me and record your reading for the podcast? Sign up for your chance to be selected by visiting italktoghosts.com/guest. And as an added bonus, if you don't want to leave your reading up to chance, I'll let you in on a secret. There's a discount offer to book a private session with me, so you can book a date and time for certain. Visit italktoghosts.com/guest for more details. I can't wait to meet you. Hello and welcome back to I Talk to Ghosts. I have a message from the spirits this evening for someone listening to the podcast. So thank you for joining me at my seance table. Tonight I'm going to be working with rose quartz. Rose quartz is very well known for its loving, supportive energy. Really great for self-care and any kind of emotional support. Now, this particular stone has not been tumbled smooth. When you work with smoothed, tumbled stones, any energy that those stones contain are said to be a little more softened and balanced, for lack of a better word. And untumbled stones are more in their natural state. So it just depends on what resonates with you as far as, I just want to work with this energy, or, I'm trying to smooth my frequencies out. Maybe I'll just work with this on a gentle level. So this tonight, rose quartz. I love to ground and center, call a spirit close. And tonight I have someone's father. He was a prickly man. He's arguing with me about it, but he's a prickly man. He lived by himself, kind of self-isolating. I think you were his only child. And he was difficult to try to support. In his older years, you would take him grocery shopping. He would wear his slippers and socks to the grocery store with you. And he was just a hard person to get close to. You kind of got the impression he would start little arguments to push people away, including you, and it was anything you could do to maintain a good relationship with him, and because you cared and you love him. And I think he's acknowledging that now. He appreciates the effort and patience that you put in with him, and that he knows he was difficult. He sees now, and here's a message for you. His message for you is he sees now the turmoil that he has caused in your life. You tend to struggle with making a decision. He sees you with that mental back and forth of trying to figure out what will work or why it wouldn't work, and wondering if there's even a good solution to be had, or is it trading one problem for another.
And he doesn't want you to have that voice in your head because he feels like he put it there. And he also sees you being way too conservative with the good things that you have in life. You're always kind of waiting for it to go away, like it won't last. And he just wants to give you a big hug and let you know that life is lovely and it will continue to be lovely for you, and that you deserve amazing things and you shouldn't be afraid to have them in your life. I think it's really important for you to hear that you deserve good things and that they're waiting for you. So run after them and pull them close and celebrate them and enjoy them, and don't worry whether or not it's going to work out or not, or whether or not it's going to fade or go away, because it won't. The universe will be kind to you, and he wants to look out for you too. He wants to put good things in your path. I think I'm going to leave it at that. If this message connects for you, please let me know. Maybe we can do a full reading. Thank you. Welcome back to I Talk to Ghosts. I was all ready to wrap up this episode, and then I realized I kind of have a haunted clothing story of my own, and it's been a while since I shared a personal experience. So here we go. I have mentioned quite a few episodes ago a haunted condominium that I used to live in, and this story takes place in that space as well. There was one night where I was getting ready for bed. I was going to take a shower and then put on my pajamas. After doing so, I was gathering up the clothing that I had worn that day, and I was going to do a load of laundry. And I couldn't find the top that I was wearing that day, that I just took off 20 minutes ago. And I looked all over the bedroom. It was kind of one of those things like, am I losing my mind? Where did it go? So I finally gave up and decided I'm not going to find it. I'm not going to find it tonight. And I went to bed. Uneventful night. I woke up the next morning and the clothing was folded up on the foot of my bed, right at my feet. Now I know what you're thinking. I could have just missed it, but I had made my bed the day before, so the blanket was very smooth. And when I slept that night, I was not restless, so the blanket wasn't all bunched up. And it wasn't a scenario where I could have covered it up and uncovered it. And my top was folded at my feet, right there, plain as day. It was black in color, and my comforter was a medium green. So it was very easy to see. It was just right there. And the fact that it was kind of laid there like it was presented to me really felt very eerie. And I immediately took a photo because I was documenting everything paranormal in my life at that point. So that is my haunted clothing story. I can't think of another time that occurred again. It was a very unique circumstance, but pretty unexplainable to me. I had looked everywhere and I would have seen it. I would have seen it on my bed. And the fact that it was folded up at my feet where I was sleeping on the bed, pretty spooky. And also, yes, I did wear that haunted top again. Listen to I Talk to Ghosts for an atmospheric chill
and to never feel alone, knowing the spirits are always around you. The autumn months are the perfect time to share and recommend this podcast to your ghoulish friends. Thank you for supporting the show and sharing the spooky. And with that, dear listener, we've reached the end of this episode of I Talk to Ghosts. I hope you've enjoyed the spirit work I've shared with you this evening, as well as those strange tales of haunted clothing. Do you have a similar experience? I would love to hear about it. In the meantime, wherever you wander off to in this world or the next, just remember, come back and visit with me. Have a lovely evening and good night.